So today we're going to talk about determining equation of a line. So they're going to give us some information, right? And we have to then figure out what the equation of this line is, okay? So let's start, okay? So before I begin, I want to ask you some facts about x and y-intercepts, because on your homework you're going to see a bunch of these. But let's start with y-intercept. Okay, what does the y-intercept look like in terms of an order pair? It always looks like this is always true. As an order pair, the y-intercept, one person see it? Two? We talked about this before. The y-intercept, yes. X0. No? Yeah, what do you think? 0y? Yeah. We use which letter for the y-intercept? GB. So guess what? The order pair is always going to look like? That's correct. So write this down, guys. It's always going to be 0, comma, some number b, and we use that letter b for the y-intercept. You guys remember this? This is important to understand. We talked about this before. So let me show you why. Look at every point on this y-axis, guys. What do you notice about the Benjamin? What do you notice about the x coordinate? They're all 0. Why do all the x coordinate of the y-intercept has to be 0? Anybody? In other words, to look at every point on the y-axis, right? Because after all, what's a y-intercept? That's where the line crosses the y-axis. So look at every point on the y-axis. X is always 0. Does anybody know why? Why is that true? Well, what if it isn't 0? Is it possible for it to be on the y-axis? Is it? Does this make sense? If, like, for example, if the x coordinate is 1, is it possible for an order pair to have 1 on the x coordinate and be on the y-axis? No, it's not possible, right? Because it will be on the left, right? It will be on the right side of the y-coordinate. Correct? In order to be on the y-axis, you must have the x coordinate to be 0, right? Remember how do we plot these points? We start at the origin, right? You either go left, right first, right? If you move left, right, will you able to be on the y-axis? No. Okay, you have to stay on the y-axis. In order to do that, the x coordinate has to be 0, right? Does that make sense? Okay, then if that's true, what do you know about the x-intercept? What do all the order pairs of the x-intercept must look like? One person? I want you to think about this as a group. Go ahead. I'll give you time. What do you think the order pair looks like? Who thinks they know what the order pair has to be? 2 people still? 3, 4. Vlad, what do you think? A, comma 0 is correct. Vlad, how did you guys come up with a, comma 0? Why does it have to have the y coordinate to be 0 every time if it's an x-intercept? Yeah, because it has to be on the x-axis. Here, look at this picture. Look at every point on the x-axis. What do you notice? Do you guys see any pattern? Every point that are on the x-axis must have 0 as the y-coordinate. Otherwise, is it possible for the point to be on the y-axis? I mean x-axis if the y-coordinate isn't 0? No. Then you can think about this as a height, right? The height of the point has to be 0 in order to be on the x-axis, right? If it's not 0, if it's like 1, right, it's going to be above the x-axis. There's no way it's going to be on the, there's no way it will be x-intercept. Does that make sense? So keep this in mind as we do problems, okay? So every y-intercept, you will have 0, comma, some number b. For every x-intercept, it's going to be a, comma 0 every time. Everybody see this? Does this make sense? Any question? How many people understand? Raise your hand. How many people are not so sure? Okay, all right. We'll get to it in a minute. Okay, so here's an example 1. So example 1 says this. It says write an equation of a line if the slope is 2 and the y-intercept is equal to -6. So this is one of the easiest problems you would ever do. Why is this like one of the easiest one? Anybody see why this is easy? You're all writing it down, okay? So let me. Why is this problem really easy, guys? All you have to do is, yeah. Yeah, you have all the information you need. What sort of form are you going to use? Yes, Ali? Yeah, we're going to use this form y equals mx plus b, which is called the slope. In this form, you could write this equation if you know the slope and the y-intercept. Do you know the slope and the y-intercept? Yeah. What's the slope, class? 2. What's the y-intercept? Okay, somebody give me the equation of this line then. Yes?
Y equals 2x minus 6.
Yeah, any question? There you are, okay. Pretty straightforward, isn't it? This is one of the easiest questions you will get. If they give you the slope and the y-intercept, we know how to write an equation of this line, correct? Now, do you think your homework will always give you the slope and the y-intercept this way? No, they're gonna get a little bit creative, okay? So everybody ready? May I go to example 2? Who's done? Raise your hand. Not all of you? Oh, okay. You just don't want to raise your hand. Okay, example 2, here we go. Here's example 2. Now they want you to write an equation of this line where slope is -3 and x-intercept is 1/3. Okay? So how are we going to come up with the equation of this line? First of all, we know the slope, right? So it's -3. So what other information do we need? Y-intercept. Well, do we have y-intercept right now? No, they gave us the x-intercept. Could I just use x-intercept in place of y-intercept?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No.
You think so? No. X and y-intercepts are different. Well, in this case it would be. Because you know that it's going to be y equals mx plus b. You can't just plug in x-intercept in place of b. You don't know what y-intercept is, right? Y-intercept and x-intercept are different, right? So we need this b, isn't that right? So let's just plug it in what we know. We know the slope is -3. Right? So it has to look like y equals to -3x plus b, right? Now all we have to do is find b. How are we gonna find b? Just one. Can I just plug in 1/3 here in place of b? No. Okay, that's not the y-intercept. So I want you to think about this as a group. Go ahead. How are we gonna figure this b out? Okay, go ahead, because that's all we need. Okay. So I saw some of you try to actually graph these things. You could kind of do that. You could try to graph with the slope at -3. Well, you start at the x-intercept at 1/3, and you could use the slope to figure it out. But it will not be always accurate if you do that. Okay, especially if the y-intercept happens to be not a whole number, right, or integer. I mean, if it's some fraction, it'd be very hard to find. So let me ask you this: what is the order pair for this x-intercept? Ryan, what would this x-intercept be in terms of an order pair? 1/3, 0. Would you guys agree? So that's the key. If I know this, what is that order pair in terms of this equation that we're looking for? Yes?
X and y? Oh.
Yes. In other words,
Y is 0 and -3 times, it'll be -3 times 1/3.
yeah, in other words, this x-intercept, isn't that one of our solution to this equation that we're looking for? Right? Doesn't this line go through this x-intercept? Right? And what do we call all those points that this line contains? This line is made up of what? Guys, when you draw a line, what are you graphing? All those points are, yes? Yeah, all those order pairs are what? Yes. Solutions to the equation, right? Of this line. Correct? So isn't 1/3 comma 0 solution to this equation that we're looking for? If that's true, what would happen if I were to plug in x in place of x and y in place of y, and could we figure out what b is? That's what you do to figure out what b is. Right? You could plug in that point to this equation, and because all we're looking for is the b, right? Right? We could figure out what b is, because 1/3 comma 0 is one of the solutions to this equation that we're looking for. Hello? And so we're looking for the b, right? So all we have to do is, that's the only thing we don't know. Do we know how to solve for b? Okay. By the way, how come I plug in 0 for y? Shouldn't it be 1/3? Because 1/3 comes first. No, that's x. So that's what people do to mess it up. Okay, so go ahead. What do we get when we plug in now 0 and 1/3 as our x and y? B comes out to be 1. Does that make sense? So now that we know what b is, guess what our equation is now? What's this equation that has a slope of 1/3, slope of -3, that happens to have the x-intercept of 1/3? Yes? See it?
Y equals -3x.
That's correct. There you go. Y equals to -3x plus 1 is the equation of this line. Does this make sense? Yes? Do you guys remember doing this from intro? Because you did this from intro, no? If you don't, then here it is again. Okay. But does this make sense? Right? We know that the x-intercept is 1/3, so therefore the order as an order pair is 1/3 comma 0. And that is one of your solutions, right? So plug into the equation to figure out one of the unknown that we don't know, which is b. Does that make sense? May I move on to example 3? Okay. Example 3, they get a little bit more creative. Instead of them giving you a point and a x-intercept, or a point and a slope, y-intercept and a slope, they give you 2 points. Like this, okay? So how would you find the equation of this line if they give you 2 points? What do you think we're going to do first? Anybody have an idea? Yes, one person? Huh? You could graph it, but if you graph it and if you figure out that the y-intercept isn't a nice integer, it'd be very hard to figure out exactly what that y-intercept is. You know what I mean? So that will not be really accurate for the most part. Yes, what do you think we should do first? We could find the slope, is exactly right. When you have 2 points, do we all know how to find slope? Do you guys remember the formula for slope? Yeah, go ahead. Find the slope. Give you time, okay? Okay, how many people got 3 as a slope? Raise your hand. Good. That's great. Now, do we have the equation of the line then? Not yet, but you're right, we can. So it actually turns out, once you know that the slope is 3, we can figure out the equation of the line. What do we do? It's kind of like example 2, isn't it? Right? Example 2, they give you a slope and a point, really. The point happens to be the x-intercept, but it's the same idea. Anybody know what to do? Okay, so first of all, do we know that could we plug in what we know from here? Y equals to what? 3x plus b. How do we find b? One person? 3? 4? Austin, what do you think?
Find b.
Yeah.
Plug in one of the points.
Exactly right. We could just plug in one of the points, right? Now I have 2 points. Which one should I use? 1. It's easier, right? Does it matter if I use 2, 4? It doesn't matter because they're both solution to this line that we're looking for. Isn't that right? So we should get the same b. So you're right. Let's just plug in 1, 1 and solve for b, right? Austin, were you able to get the answer?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
Y equals 3x minus 2.
You got 2? Minus 2, I mean? Very good. Did you all get minus 2 as b? Yeah, I plug in 1, 1 for x and y, and so b comes out to be negative 2. There's your equation. Okay? So this time, it doesn't matter which points you choose because they're both solution to this equation, right, that we're looking for. Very good. Do you guys get the idea? They get a little bit more creative. Let's see how they get creative on this one. They now give you y-intercept and x-intercept. Uh-oh, what are we going to do? Go ahead. See if you can do this. Talk to your group. Okay, it's not a test. Okay, help each other out. How can you find the equation of this line if they give you the y-intercept and x-intercept? Go ahead. Okay, so how many people realize that this example 4 is very similar to the one we just did, where I give you 2 points? Why? You're right. Why, Ali?
Because what you do is you plug in the x-intercept, like the order pair of the x-intercept, and then you solve for n, which is the same as solving.
Right, so basically, if they give you y-intercept and x-intercept, it's basically them giving you 2 points. Isn't that right, guys? What is the actual order pair for the y-intercept equals negative 2? Yeah, one person knows? Come on, there should be 2 people? Jamin, what's the actual order pair? 0, negative 2. Would you agree? Yes? What about x-intercept? What is the actual order pair? Yeah. 5, 0. You guys, we just talked about this, right? Remember, y-intercept, x has to be 0. For the x-intercept, y has to be 0, right? By the way, is that important to like actually know which one is which? Which 0 you plug in for which? That's correct. And now, if you have 2 points, can we figure out the slope? Right? Can we now find the slope? Because that's I could use that as x of 1, y of 1, x of 2, y of 2. Okay, Alvin, what's the slope going to be? 2 over 5. Did you all get 2 over 5? Right? Now, actually, this one is actually easier than the one before. Why? Does anybody see why? Yes.
Did you already have your y?
They already gave us the y-intercept. Do you have to find the y-intercept? No. In this one, what is your y-intercept? Negative 2. You don't have to plug it in. You see? Your p is already given to you. How many people actually plug it in? Okay, yeah. If you plug it, it's okay. But it's like.
I was making sure.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Did you get negative 2 when you plug it in? Yeah. You better get negative 2, right? So you don't have to look for b. They gave you b, right? So what's the equation of this line? How about yes, sir, Stefan?
Y equals 2 bits x minus 2.
There you go. Okay, any question? So when they give you the y-intercept, you don't have to look for it again. I mean, you still get the same one. It's just, right? Does that make sense, guys? Okay. Pretty straightforward, correct? Are we ready for the next example? Because this next example is kind of interesting. Okay. Here, check this out. What about this one? It says, find the equation line that passes through negative 1, 3, and it's parallel to 3x minus y equals to 4. So this sort of kind of puts everything that we learned from the other section. You have to know that information. What do we know about if 2 lines are parallel and so forth? Go ahead, everybody. Try this as a group. We'll go over it together in a minute. Okay. So this one is really very similar to if I were to give you a point and a slope. Why? What do you know about 2 lines that are parallel to each other? And now you need to listen. Yeah, Austin, what do you know about 2 lines that are parallel to each other? They have the same slope. You guys remember this? So here's line 1. That's what I'm looking for. That has to go through negative 1, 3. Line 2 is the other line. That has to be parallel to it. How do I find the slope of this line then? Line 2. Anybody? Because right now, do I know what the slope of the line 2 is? No? One person knows how to find the slope of this line 2? Come on, everybody should know this. Right? Stefan, what do you think?
For the line?
Yeah, the second line here. How do I find the slope of this line? 3x minus y equals to 4.
You have to substitute the order pair.
To find the slope? Not really. Sarah, what do you think? What do I need to do to find the slope of this line?
You have to make it so it's y equals.
Yeah, slope intercept form. Y equals to mx plus b. So here's line 1, line 2. Line 1, like I said, that's what I'm looking for. That happens to pass through negative 1, 3. Line 2, we can find the slope by changing into slope-intercept form. So there it is. I did that. And did you all come up with 3 as a slope of line 2? Yes? Okay. Now I wrote down then line 1 has to have a slope of 3 as well. Why? Why does line 1 have to have a slope, Stefan?
Because if they're parallel, they have to have the same.
Exactly. Since they're parallel, they must have the same slope. Does that make sense? Do you see why I changed this into slope-intercept form, the line 2? By the way, do I even need this Y-intercept for line 2? Does that play any part? No, it does not play any part there. So, if this is true, what do I do? So what? Okay. I have slope for the line 1. By the way, what if they were perpendicular to each other? Which slope would you use? Negative 1 over 3. Why, class? Yes?
Because it's the negative reciprocal.
Yeah, it has to be opposite reciprocal. Do you think you might see something like that for your homework tonight? Yeah. So they could say the 2 lines could be perpendicular, not parallel. But if they're parallel, they have the same slope. If they're perpendicular, then you would use opposite reciprocal. Right? In other words, when you multiply those 2 slopes, it has to equal to negative 1. So then, what do I do? Chris, what should I do next? I have the slope and the point. Exactly. We know the equation must look like y equals mx plus b. We know the slope, y equals 3x plus b. All we have to do then is plug in the negative 1, 3. What do I plug in for y? Negative 1 or 3, guys? 3. I cannot tell you how many times people plug in negative 1 because they see negative 1 first, right? Whatever they see first, they plug it in. Would that be right? No. Okay. So when you plug it in, did anybody finish this? Okay. How many? Okay. All right. Who haven't I called today? How about I called you? Oh, yeah, Aaron. What'd you? B equals 2. How many people got 6? Yes, B. Oh, good. Is this easy, guys? Yeah. Very good. Okay. Okay. So did you all get then y equals to 3x plus 6?
Yeah.
Is this right? Does that make sense? Very good. All right. Not yet, because there's this easy question. It's one of the easiest, but people always mess it up. It says they want an equation of the line that is horizontal. Line through 3, 5. What's the equation of the line that is horizontal line? What's the equation of this horizontal line that goes through 3, 5? Go ahead, figure this out with the group. With your group, think about this. So, as I went around, a lot of you guys had the right answer. What is the slope of a horizontal line? 0. 0 is correct. So we know the slope is 0. And I even drew this picture for you. Isn't this what we're talking about? Here is 3, 5. There's a horizontal line, right, that goes through 3, 5. What do you notice about the slope is 0, right? So since it's 0, then what's your y-intercept? Yeah.
5.
It's 5. How do you know?
Oh, because you plug in 3, 5, and 0 to the y equals mx plus b.
Y equals mx plus b?
You plug in these two, b.
Yeah, you could do that, sure. So, you know that the b is 5 because look at the horizontal line. Doesn't it hit the y-axis at 5 anyway? Right? Or you could plug it in. So you get y equals to 0x plus b. And then you can plug in, right, x, y there. But you're going to plug in y for 5. You're right. So the answer is y equals to 5, correct? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, you could have plugged in y equals to b there. So yeah, I guess you could have done that. That's fine. What's another way of thinking about this? So what Melissa did was, since she knew that the slope was 0, because it's a horizontal line, she plugged in y equals to, oops, let me try it with the black one. Y equals to mx plus b. Y equals to 0x plus b. Right? Now, in place of y, let me move this down more. Oops. In terms of y, what do we plug in? Whoa. P. It's doing something weird. There you go. What are the order pairs you're going to use? 3, 5, right? So we plug in 5 here equals to 0 times 3 plus b. What's 0 times 3, guys? So b equals to 5. But easier way is actually, notice that you got a horizontal line, right? Well, if you have a horizontal line, where would this horizontal line hit the y-axis at? If you 5. And notice all the y coordinates. They're always, well, look at all this horizontal. Yeah, your y is always equal to 5, isn't that right? This is negative 2, 5, 0, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5. If you have a horizontal line, you know that y is always going to be 5. Otherwise, it would not be horizontal. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay. What if I ask you this? What if I ask you vertical line through 3, 5? What would that be? Okay. Go ahead. Instead of horizontal, the horizontal line was y equals 5. What if I ask you for a vertical line through 3, 5? What would that be? Go ahead. Figure this out. Instead of so, well, who has the answer? First of all, okay, is the answer undefined? No, I heard a lot of people say undefined. Am I asking for the slope of this line? No, I'm asking for the actual equation. Sarah, what did you get? X equals to 3 is correct. How'd you get x equals to 3? Okay, listen. Okay, don't write undefined. That's not the equation of this line. Okay, equation. Alright, this is slope. Okay, hold on, guys. Here we go. Alright, Sarah. Shh, okay, let's listen now. Go ahead. Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. You could actually see this a little better if you were to draw this or graph it really quickly. Guys, what do you know about this vertical line? In order for a line to be vertical, what is always true? You get your x-coordinate. X-coordinate is always equal to 3. Isn't that how you get a vertical line? If the x-coordinate isn't always 3, then would you get the vertical line here? No. So there you go. Any question? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Do you guys get the idea? If it's right, if it's a vertical line through some point, it's always going to be x equals to that x-coordinate, right? Does that make sense? If it's a horizontal line, which one do you use? Y is equal to the what? The y-coordinate. Does that make sense? Do you get this? All right. Okay, good.